Choose Your Own Adventure presents The Tale of the Python. Do you find yourself puzzled and confused by all the numbers swirling around your head? Do you find yourself buried under mountains of data with no idea what to do with it or how to organize it? Don't you wish you could just reach out and grab a tool that would help solve all your problems? Here, Snaky, 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 come here. Come here, Snaky, come here. There, that's a good snake. Come on, why don't you help your Uncle Aaron here and do some data wrangling? Come on, let's go do some learning analytics. Good boy. Ow! It bit me! Anybody got some anti-venom handy? Hello there. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I did on my adventure, and obviously I did a little bit of playing around with a snake, specifically called Python. And so I took this course, Data Analysis with Python, and sort of worked through it so that I could learn a little bit more about Python, and also how I could sort of implement learning analytics sort of at a basic level. And so the course itself was a 7-week course, and it was free, although as you can see there are locks here. The ones that were, if you wanted to get the quizzes marked and also do the projects and have them sort of marked, you needed to pay. And of course I didn't pay, being the cheapskate I am. But the videos were there, the lessons were there. It was, yeah, okay, of course. I mean, it was pretty well done, just typical deliver the content, and these quizzes were just testing your basic understanding. What worked really well was the practice exercises. And so I'll just pop over there. These practice exercises sort of ran you through everything. And so what I did, to sort of, I ran through what it was based on sort of car pricing. So they were trying to say, given these characteristics, what would be the model that would describe, determine the price of the car? Well, I took that and sort of developed my own one based on some data that was from a Middle Eastern school that had a bunch of characteristics taken from an LMS, and then also with a grade level. So my idea was, well, how could I model the grade level based upon certain characteristics, such as, raising their hand, visiting resources, and so on. So in the end, I sort of went through, and I'm not going to bore you with all this stuff here, but was able to start using Python, which is what you can see here, and the various libraries that Python has, so matplotlib, scipy, numpy, scikit-learn, all these different modules that sort of really transform Python from a basic language, programming language, into a sort of a data analysis tool. And it was really neat that, just type this in, and it outspits all these things, and you could run through a variety of, sort of cleaning the data and then manipulating the data in various ways. It was also a little disconcerting because it would sort of do that, just run the program, and in behind the scenes, it would transform everything, and you weren't ever quite sure what had gone on. And I think with time, I'd feel more comfortable. But obviously at the start, it was a little, like I said, disconcerting there. In terms of the actual things that we've done, you can start to see that I was graphing. So being able to do some graphing there and being able to bring in, with these different, so matplotlib, being able to bring these in and creating graphs with the data and binning and all these other sort of statistical techniques that I learned along the way as well. One thing that I will say, I'm only a beginner programmer, but I found the programming part of it actually quite simple. This looks a little bit difficult, but it isn't nearly as complex as it makes itself out to be. But where I started to fall apart a little bit was on the statistics, and I really think I'd almost have to take a statistics class to understand exactly what I was doing. To a certain extent, I was sort of going through the motions, understanding it, but I wouldn't feel very comfortable doing it on my own without sort of, some specific instructions set in there. And I wasn't, 100% sure with my data set if what I was doing was sort of reasonable, was what I should be doing with my particular data set. So yeah, I mean, definitely looking forward to the future, I think I'd like to look more into statistics. And so I sort of worked through this. This is a Jupyter notebook, which is quite nice because everything is you do the code and then you can actually see the results here, which learning about Jupyter notebooks is going to be really beneficial to me, and I think I'll be using them as I teach programming. Just sort of going on to the other one here as well, and multiple regression analysis, right? Trying to look and see exactly how all this sort of would work out. Like I said, as mine worked out, because it was only in 3 categories, it wasn't sort of continuous data. I had trouble trying to fit my data to the actual values. And at that point, I sort of began, it's a little bit difficult, right? These polynomial fits and so on, and different orders, and trying to see which model would work best. Also, obviously, with learning here, it's not just going to be simply one variable that determines, their outcome of their academic performance, but probably multiple variables. And trying to get that to work out as a model, a little challenging in this case, but I think I developed a much better understanding and an appreciation for what needs to be done. In the end, right, sort of as a conclusion, just quickly here, is that, I really sort of gained an appreciation for how much knowledge is required, and sort of thought about, having, obviously teachers and administrators probably wouldn't have this, but sort of giving them a bit more of an idea of the statistics, probably not the programming part, that underlies some of these tools. And then, of course, on the back end, having some of those people understand a little bit more of the education side. But you really need sort of a full stack developer, right? That sort of can work between those two areas, the technical side and then sort of the educational side, and really understand those. And so I think this gave me a much better understanding of what's going on. And it was a tough slog at times, but an enjoyable one. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.